You are listening to Mining Stock Education. Thanks for tuning in and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Bill Powers, your host. Well, today we're going to be getting an update from Mark Campbell, the president and CEO of Aton Resources, regarding the movings and happenings of mining reform in Egypt. I was able to meet Mark at PDAC at the beginning of March, and there was Egyptian sessions that occurred there, and I would like for Mark to give us an update on the specific what was talked about and what can we expect with mining reform in Egypt. So with that, Mark, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me back, Bill. I really appreciate it. And just on an opening note, I just want to say I'm sure you're feeling a bit tender after my Red Raiders whooped up on your Wolverines yesterday. but nonetheless, yeah, it was a very good PDAC. And I think that what was important is that Egypt showed up with a fairly good size group to basically update investors as to what is going on and to also listen to mining companies and mining investors as to what they're looking for. The Woodmac was there. NP, who is the petroleum company, that's the engineering company that is sponsoring Woodmac. And then you had the new chairman of EMRA, Osama Farouk, who is just doing a tremendous job. Spoke there, as well as Tamar al-Bakr, who runs the Federation of Egyptian Industries, which is the largest sort of lobbying group for domestic lobbying group for industry in Egypt. So, they put on a good show. They were very clear that, it's still in consultation, the changes and legislation, and that's to be expected. And there are a lot of various parties to be, canvassed and, in discussion and all the rest of it. But they made it very clear that reform is coming, that they know that they had gotten it wrong in the past, and they intend to ensure they get it right in the future. So, and they intend to go and do more of this promotion, which is a great thing. They'll be showing up at the Arab African Mining Conference in June, and I believe they also have plans to go to Africa Down Under in Perth in September. So, they definitely are on a mission to promote, Egypt and to what it has to offer, and also to let people know that that change is coming for the better, and that they want to hear what other people have to say. So that I think was all very, very positive, and I think the fact that they have a plan to continue this promotion is really good.
Do you see any concrete things happening, whether it's the private sector in Egypt, that you could point to show people that, yes, mining reform is truly going to occur in Egypt?
Just because we don't see a headline on this every other day doesn't mean that things aren't going on in the background. I mean, you have Woodmac, you have Wood Mackenzie here. You've got people talking within the parliament and between industry. You have Osama Farouk, who is doing just a grand job of working on, updating EMRA and turning it back into a geological survey. And, that's a big job. I mean, he's a braver man than I, Gungadin. I mean, that's a huge job. But, he's very good. He's very receptive. He is really a cornerstone of the new face of Egyptian mining. And so I think that although we don't see it out in the press all the time, that I think people have to remember that there is a lot happening. And your American listeners will be interested to know that the American Chamber of Commerce, which is by far and away the most powerful lobbying group on behalf of not just American business in Egypt, but also really international business in Egypt, have embraced this. And, there is a new mineral exploration and development committee, because obviously the first thing that needs to happen is to attract exploration companies. Mining's, many years down the road, but exploration is important. And so their support. And also, too, is that, there are opportunities for U.S. companies. I mean, obviously gold, you've got Newmont, but, one thing that we don't talk about as much, it's mainly talked about gold, is the huge copper potential here in Egypt. And so, that could possibly be something that could give Freeport-McMoRan, an opportunity. So I think that's very good. I also think there's another thing that people may have missed, but, recently another Canadian TSXV company, MiningStockEducation.com, has showed up. Now they have a deal to process the tailings at El Cid. El Cid was the last mine to close back in '57, and so they have an agreement with the Egyptian Army's mining company, Shalatin, to process these tailings. Now that's not exploration, but I think it's significant that they have come in. Now, this isn't their first rodeo. I mean, they came in 2009, but unfortunately ran smack into the revolution. And I know, how difficult it was to struggle through that period of time and, what it would have been like if you were just starting out. But their belief in Egypt obviously hasn't dimmed. And so, they've got themselves a nice position to take advantage of when things change to pick up ground in Egypt. So, although that doesn't constitute a rush, I still think it's very positive.
What are some of the advantages of Egypt versus other underexplored parts of Africa?
Well, I think that, it depends on what you're talking about. But if we look at the ANS, the Arabian-Nubian Shield, that's very underexplored. And if we look at our neighbors to the south in Sudan, there's no doubt that there's a lot of mineral wealth there. The problem is that there's no infrastructure. And so, you have to have a large project to justify building all that infrastructure. And whereas in Egypt, the government has focused on building infrastructure throughout Upper Egypt, so the Eastern Desert. And so, if you look at our property as an example, we have a brand new 4-lane highway that runs right outside our gate. We have 2 international airports within 2.5 hours of us. We've got power that runs through our property. And so, the infrastructure that is there is very important. Also, too, is that, Egypt is a very stable country. I know people look at the region, but I mean, we really are the Beverly Hills surrounded by bad neighborhoods. But Egypt in itself is extremely stable. It has a very pro-investment government under Sisi. And of course, it's Sisi who is driving the desire to reform the mining sector and build up a robust mineral exploration and in the future mining sector, and along with the Minister of Petroleum, Tariq Al-Mullah, and as I say, Osama Farouk, who is the new chairman of EMRA. So you have stability, you have infrastructure, which of course lowers the cost enormously because you don't have to build any of that in. So finding costs really are pretty low. You've got a large workforce and educated workforce. So, that is fairly low, low cost power, low cost gasoline, diesel. So, by and large, it has almost everything that you really would want to have. Without and with the stability as well. I mean, it's sort of like Nevada, really.
And for those that don't know, Egypt operates under more of the oil and gas paradigm that is not as conducive to mineral exploration. And Mark's been one of the pioneers and key voices in Egypt, speaking into those that would listen in the Egyptian government, advising, as well as Wood Mackenzie. That's been occurring in the last year. So a catalyst in Egypt is mining reform, because this will allow, kind of free up these junior exploration companies to have more favorable regulations and rules. Mark, is there anything else we should know as we conclude this brief interview?
No, I think that's about right. I think that's the thing to remember, that it is coming, that they do realize. They instituted this production sharing agreement back in '82 when there really wasn't anything going on. And, if you don't have an industry, if you don't have people that have knowledge of the industry, it's sometimes hard for them to understand why that's bad and something else is good. I think the fact that there's only one producing mine, Sukari, and, really two exploration companies with, Resolute, who are sitting here patiently waiting for the change so they can start working. And as I say, Newinsko, who's got a foothold in the market now and, obviously wants to take advantage of it. I think that, that is all positive. I think that it's watch this space, really. It's coming. I think that, I think if you look at Ecuador, which went through a very similar process, and you look at the number of companies, which I think is now over 400, that have come in or trying to come in, it gives you a good example of what can happen in Egypt. There's certainly a lot of people watching Egypt. There's certainly a lot of companies that are interested not only in the Arabian-Nubian Shield, but also, in the underexplored potential of Egypt that would come. It just needs the catalyst of, tax, rent, and royalty, standard sort of stuff. You can peg your own ground. And Egypt's working towards that.
Well, Mark, thanks for the update. For those that want to learn more about Aton, go to AtonResources.com. Aton trades on the TSXV under the ticker AAN. We'll be talking to you again throughout 2019, Mark. Thanks for stopping by.
Well, thank y'all. I really appreciate it, Bill.
Thank you for listening to this Mining Stock Education podcast. Please subscribe and share with like-minded investors. Visit us on the web at MiningStockEducation.com for more resources on precious metals and natural resource investing. At our website, you can also sign up for our free newsletter for interview transcripts, stock picks, and more.